I'm afraid he's had too much to drink.
Well, we have a saying back in Texas, ma'am.
Doris Day and Rock Hudson, two of Hollywood's most beloved stars, built a chemistry so convincing audiences believed it had to be real. But behind the scenes, one of them was living a lie so carefully constructed it fooled the entire world. Rock Hudson was hiding a truth about his love life, and Doris Day saw more than she ever let on. She watched it unfold in real time, on set, off camera, in the quiet moments no one else noticed. Shortly before he died, they had one last private encounter that changed their relationship forever. And the truth about what happened between them would leave you in shock. The birth of an unlikely partnership. Doris Day and Rock Hudson were two of the biggest stars in Hollywood during the 1950s, but on the surface they had almost nothing in common. She was a former big band singer from Ohio who had become America's wholesome sweetheart, the girl next door who wore twin sweaters and smiled like she meant it. He was a towering, ruggedly handsome leading man whose name sounded like something carved out of granite. When they first came together on a film set in 1959, no one expected them to become close friends. But something happened behind the cameras that audiences never saw. Before they ever met, both of them had already survived difficult childhoods that shaped who they would become. Doris was born Doris Mary Ann Kappelhoff in Cincinnati, Ohio, on April 3, 1922. Her father was a music teacher, but he abandoned the family when she was only 10 years old. Her mother had to go to work in a bakery to keep food on the table, and the young girl learned early that life did not hand out free passes. She threw herself into dancing, hoping to make a career on stage. But when she was 12, on the eve of moving to California to pursue her dreams, a train struck the car she was riding in. Her leg was severely injured, and the accident ended her dancing career permanently. The injury crushed her, but it also redirected her. While she was recovering at home, she sang along to the radio to pass the time. A band leader named Barney Rapp heard her rendition of a song called Day After Day and hired her to sing with his band. He told her that her surname, Kappelhoff, was too long for a marquee, and he suggested she take her last name from that same song. The name Doris Day was born not in a recording studio, but in a recovery room, with her leg still healing from a train wreck. On the other hand, Rock Hudson's real name was not Rock at all. He was born Roy Harold Scherer Jr. in Winnetka, Illinois, on November 17, 1925. His father deserted the family during the Great Depression in the early 1930s, leaving his mother to raise him alone. She later remarried, and young Roy took his stepfather's last name, becoming Roy Fitzgerald. When he moved to Hollywood and signed with a powerful agent named Henry Wilson, the agent decided that Roy Fitzgerald was not a movie star name. He created Rock Hudson to project a rugged, all-American image. Rock implied strength, and Hudson sounded prestigious. The name was fake, but the man underneath it was real enough, and he was carrying secrets of his own. When Doris first heard about him before they worked together, she admitted that she found his name ridiculous. She recalled thinking to herself whether his name was really Rock, and she said that seemed odd. The name suggested someone tough and maybe even aggressive. But when they finally met on the set of Pillow Talk in 1959, she was struck by something unexpected. The massive man standing before her, who towered over most people at 6 feet and 5 inches, was unusually gentle. His personality did not match the hard sound of his name at all. Pillow Talk was a romantic comedy about two strangers who shared a telephone party line, which was a real technological limitation in 1959, but became quaint almost as soon as the movie was finished. Doris played an interior decorator named Jan Morrow, and Rock played a womanizing song named Brad Allen, who shared her phone line without her knowing it. To seduce her without revealing his true identity, his character pretended to be a wealthy Texan, and the humor came from watching him lie through his teeth while the audience knew the truth. In the climax of the film, Doris's character got revenge by decorating his apartment in a deliberately hideous manner, but he praised the results so effusively that she finally surrendered to him. The movie made a fortune at the box office. It held the #1 spot for 7 weeks, which was a long time for any film in that era. The critics were surprised by how well the two stars worked together, and the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences took notice. Pillow Talk received 5 Oscar nominations, and Doris Day received the only Academy Award nomination of her entire career for Best Actress. She did not win, but the nomination alone was a rare honor for a romantic comedy performance. Rock Hudson later admitted in his autobiography that he learned more from watching Doris than from any acting teacher. He said that she was an actor's studio all by herself. He admired her sense of timing and her instincts, and he said that he just kept his eyes open and copied her. That was a remarkable admission from a man who was already a huge star. He did not have to credit her, but he chose to, and the words revealed how much he respected her as a performer. Behind the scenes, their friendship grew in ways that the public never knew about. Rock never called Doris by her real name on the set of their films together. He insisted on calling her Eunice, which was a private joke between them. No one knows exactly where the joke came from, but it stuck throughout their entire friendship. He called her Eunice whether they were filming a scene or eating lunch together, and she let him get away with it because that was the kind of man he was. He was large and famous and handsome, but around her, he was just a friend with a silly nickname. They made only 3 films together over the course of their careers: Pillow Talk in 1959, Lover Come Back in 1961, and Send Me No Flowers in 1964. After the 3rd film, they drifted apart. The separation was not because of a feud or a fight. Doris simply decided to retire from acting, and Rock continued making movies without her. They stayed in touch occasionally, but the daily closeness of the film set was gone, and distance crept in where intimacy had once lived. Then, in the 1980s, Rock Hudson became ill. The illness was something he had hidden from almost everyone, including Doris. And when he finally told her the truth, in a conversation that would be their last encounter, she learned something about him that changed how she saw their entire friendship. The secret Hudson kept from everyone. Rock Hudson was one of the most famous men in Hollywood during the 1950s. He was tall and handsome and strong, and women everywhere wanted to be with him. Movie studios put him in romantic comedies and adventure films, and audiences never questioned the image being sold to them. But behind the carefully constructed facade, Rock Hudson was hiding something that could have destroyed his career in an instant. He was gay, and in the 1950s, being gay in Hollywood was not just a personal struggle. It was a professional death sentence. The tabloids of that era ran headlines warning that the queer community was taking over Hollywood. The language was harsh, and the fear was real. Agents and studio executives lived in terror of their biggest stars being exposed, because exposure meant the end of ticket sales and the end of careers. By 1955, Rock Hudson was 30 years old and famously unmarried, which raised red flags at gossip magazines. A leading man his age was expected to have a wife, or at least a serious girlfriend. He had neither, and people were starting to notice. His agent, Henry Wilson, was the man who had given him the name Rock Hudson. But Wilson had a reputation that went far beyond creative branding. He represented several young gay actors, and he allegedly had affairs with some of them in exchange for advancing their careers. It was an exploitative relationship, and Hudson was caught in the middle of it. Rock Hudson needed Wilson to keep working, and Wilson needed Hudson to stay in the closet. The arrangement worked for both of them, but it came with strings attached. The solution to the marriage problem was a sham wedding. The studio devised a plan for Hudson to marry someone quickly, and the someone they chose was Phyllis Gates, a secretary who worked for Wilson. Rumors later circulated that Gates was bisexual herself, and that the marriage was never about love or attraction. It was a publicity stunt designed to silence the gossip magazines, and it worked. Hudson and Gates married in 1955, and the tabloids immediately lost interest in his private life. He was now a married man, which meant he was safe. The marriage lasted only 3 years. It ended in 1958, and the divorce was quiet and civil. After the split, the press largely left Hudson alone because they now viewed him as a divorced bachelor rather than a suspiciously unmarried man. The strategy had worked perfectly. He had traded 3 years of a fake marriage for a lifetime of relative privacy, or so he hoped. Behind closed doors, Hudson lived a very different life. His home in Beverly Hills, which he called the Castle, became the site of legendary parties attended almost exclusively by men. A documentary released in 2023 revealed footage of these all-male gatherings, and Hudson was always the center of attention. He was relaxed and happy in a way that he never appeared to be in public, surrounded by people who knew the real him and accepted him without judgment. His secret life was not always as carefully hidden as he believed. A never-before-revealed phone recording exists in which a studio employee can be heard setting Hudson up on a rendezvous with a friend. The conversation is casual and undisguised, suggesting that the people working closest to him knew exactly what was happening and helped facilitate it. The secret was not as secret as the public imagined. It was hidden from audiences, but it was an open secret inside the industry. The closest he came to being exposed happened at the height of his fame. A magazine obtained information about his private life and prepared to publish a story that would have ended his career. The studio found out about the impending article and paid off the publishers to kill the story. Money changed hands, and the world never learned what the magazine had planned to print. Hudson continued making movies, and the public continued believing he was the rugged leading man they saw on screen. But secrets have a way of coming out eventually. For decades, Hudson managed to keep his private life hidden from the millions of people who watched his films. He dated women publicly when he had to, and he stayed out of trouble when he could. The system of studios and agents and paid-off tabloids worked exactly as it was designed to work. He was protected because he was valuable, and he was valuable because he was protected. Then, in the 1980s, everything changed. A disease that no one fully understood began spreading at an alarming rate. The world was afraid, and the fear made people cruel. Rock Hudson, who had spent his entire adult life lying about who he was, found himself facing a truth that he could no longer hide. His body was betraying him in ways that makeup and lighting could not cover up. And the woman who had once been his closest friend, Doris Day, was about to learn the secret in the most heartbreaking way possible. How the world discovered the truth. For more than 3 decades, Rock Hudson kept his secret locked away from the public. He married a woman he did not love. He posed for photographs with smiling actresses. And he let the world believe he was exactly who the studio had invented. But secrets do not stay buried forever. In the 1980s, a disease that no one understood began to spread through the gay community, and Rock Hudson could no longer hide. His body told the truth that his mouth refused to speak, and the world watched as one of Hollywood's biggest stars collapsed under the weight of a secret he had carried since he was a young man. The first warning signs appeared in May of 1984. Rock Hudson attended a state dinner at the White House, and Nancy Reagan noticed something wrong. There was a lesion on his neck that looked concerning, and his body seemed gaunt inside his tuxedo. She urged him to get a mole checked by a doctor. The examination revealed that the lesion was not a mole at all. It was Kaposi's sarcoma, a rare form of cancer that was closely associated with a new and terrifying illness called acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. On June 5, 1984, Rock Hudson was officially told that he had this disease. However, he told almost no one, and he went back to work as if nothing had happened. Later that same year, he filmed a kissing scene with the actress Linda Evans on the television show Dynasty. He was terrified of infecting her, though doctors had not yet determined exactly how the disease spread. Before the scene, he used heavy mouthwashes and sprays, hoping to kill anything that might be in his mouth. After the kiss was finished, he told his secretary that he was relieved it was over with. He did not say why, because he could not tell anyone the real reason for his fear. By July of 1985, his condition had worsened significantly. He flew to Paris to obtain an experimental medication at the Pasteur Institute. Although his doctors told him he was too weak to travel, he went anyway because he was desperate. On July 21, 1985, he collapsed in the lobby of the Ritz Hotel in Paris. Witnesses later said that he was so thin and frail that when hotel staff turned him over, they were afraid they might hurt him. The man who had once been a towering symbol of American masculinity now weighed barely more than a teenager. His publicist released a statement 2 days later claiming that Hudson had inoperable liver cancer. The lie was meant to explain his dramatic weight loss and protect his secret for a little while longer. But the American hospital in Paris was not willing to participate in the deception. Hospital officials told Hudson that if he did not tell the truth about his condition, they would. On July 25, 1985, his spokeswoman finally confirmed what the tabloids had already begun to suspect. Rock Hudson had acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. The announcement sent shockwaves through Hollywood and across the world. The disease was still poorly understood at the time, and fear of the disease had reached near hysterical levels. People believed it could be transmitted through casual contact, through a handshake, or a shared drinking glass, or a toilet seat. The panic was not based on science, but science did not matter to frightened people. Linda Evans, who had kissed Hudson on Dynasty just 1 year earlier, was reportedly hysterical when she learned the truth. Tabloids ran false stories claiming that she was suing him or that she feared for her own life. Neither story was true, but the damage was already done. Evans later revealed that her own friends refused to visit her after the Dynasty kiss aired. They were afraid of catching the disease just by touching her, even though she had not been diagnosed with anything and had shown no symptoms. The fear was irrational, but it was real, and it destroyed relationships that had taken years to build. The Screen Actors Guild responded to the panic by changing its rules. The union's president at the time, Ed Asner, confirmed that actors would now be notified in advance if any open-mouth kissing was required for a scene. The rule was meant to protect performers from unknowingly exposing themselves to a potentially fatal disease. But it also reflected just how terrified the industry had become. A single diagnosis had changed the way Hollywood made movies and television shows. Rock Hudson watched all of this from a hospital bed in Paris, and then from a hospital in Los Angeles after he was flown home. He had spent his entire life hiding from the truth, and now the truth was on every newspaper and every television screen. There was nowhere left to run. There was no studio executive who could pay off a tabloid to kill this story. The secret was out, and the world was watching him die. But before the end came, there was one more conversation he needed to have. There was one person who had known him before the fame and the lies and the sham marriage, someone who had been his friend when neither of them was pretending to be someone else. Doris Day had not spoken to him in years, but he reached out to her in his final months. And what he told her and what she later revealed about their relationship changed the way the world remembered both of them. The truth about their relationship. By the summer of 1985, Rock Hudson was a dying man. He was weak and thin and confused, and his doctors told him to stay in the hospital. But there was one thing he had to do before the end came. He had made a promise to Doris Day that he would appear with her at a press conference to promote her new television show. His staff begged him not to go. He told them that Doris expected him to keep his word, and he was going to keep it. On July 16, 1985, Hudson flew to Carmel, California, where Doris lived. She had not seen him in years, and nothing could have prepared her for what walked through her door. The man standing before her was scarily thin, nothing like the towering, muscular figure she had known from their 3 films together. He moved slowly, as if every step cost him something. He acted much older than his 59 years, and his speech sometimes drifted into confusion, as if his mind were wandering away from the conversation. Inside, Doris was horrified, but she was also an old pro, and she knew what he needed from her at that moment. She pretended that nothing was wrong. She did not ask questions about his weight, or his illness, or the tabloid stories that had been following him for weeks. She did not demand explanations or confess her fears. Instead, she did something simpler and more powerful. She sheltered him. She used a Spanish word that meant to cover or protect, wrapping him in a warmth that asked for nothing in return. When she noticed that he was too weak to hold his fork properly, she offered to feed him lunch herself, as if he were a child. and she were his mother. The press conference happened, and the cameras captured two old friends smiling together one last time. But the real moment came later, after the journalists had gone home and the lights had been turned off. As Hudson prepared to leave her Carmel home and fly back to the hospital, he gave Doris a long, tight hug. He held on to her for much longer than a normal goodbye. She could feel that he knew something she did not want to accept. He knew he was dying, and this was his way of saying farewell without using the words. Doris later remembered that moment with a clarity that had not faded with time. She said that they kissed goodbye, and he gave her a big hug, and he held on to her. She was in tears, though she had tried to hide them until he was gone. She watched him walk slowly to the car, and she knew she would never see him alive again. On October 2, 1985, Rock Hudson died at the age of 59. He was the first major celebrity to die of acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, and his death shattered the national denial surrounding the disease. For years, the media had referred to the disease as a plague reserved for the ordinary citizens and the queer community. This misconception allowed rich and straight Americans to believe they were not at risk. Hudson's death proved that the disease did not care about fame or wealth. It killed whoever it touched, and it had touched one of the most beloved leading men in Hollywood history. When Doris heard the news, she issued a statement that captured the confusion and grief she was feeling. She asked what she could possibly say, and she admitted that this was the moment when faith was truly tested. She said that she had always seen Rock as big, healthy, and indestructible, and the image of him as a dying man had not replaced the image of him as a young star. She ended her statement with a quiet hope that they would meet again someday. The legacy of Hudson's death extended far beyond the grief of his friends and fans. He had left $250,000 in his will to help establish the American Foundation for Acquired Immunodeficiency Syndrome Research, an organization that would become known as AMFAR. His close friend, Elizabeth Taylor, agreed to serve as its national chairman, and she would spend the rest of her life fighting for acquired immunodeficiency syndrome research and against the stigma that surrounded the disease. Hudson's money helped launch an institution that has saved countless lives, though he did not live to see the work it would do. The political impact of his death was immediate and measurable. Within days of Hudson passing away, the United States Congress voted by a wide margin to increase federal funding for research and treatment. The final funding amount was nearly $70 million more than President Ronald Reagan had requested. The vote was not close. It was a landslide, and the reason for the landslide was Rock Hudson. His death had made the disease real to politicians who had spent years ignoring it. The week Hudson died, American press coverage of acquired immunodeficiency syndrome tripled. Time magazine and Newsweek, the two most important news weeklies in the country, both ran cover stories about the disease simultaneously. That had never happened before. It became the biggest story in the country, and it stayed that way for months. But the truth about Hudson's relationship with Doris Day was not about politics or funding or media coverage. It was about two people who had loved each other in a way that did not fit into any easy category. They were never lovers. They were never married. They never even dated. But they had trusted each other with their secrets, and that trust had never been broken. Doris knew about Rock's secrets long before the tabloids did. She knew about the parties at the castle and the men who came and went. She knew that his marriage to Phyllis Gates was a sham designed to protect his career. She knew all of it, and she never judged him. She never threatened to expose him. She never treated him differently because of who he loved. She simply accepted him as he was, and that acceptance meant more to him than any award or box office success ever could. In return, Rock protected her in ways that the public never understood. He never revealed the private struggles she was facing during the years of their friendship. He never used her name to advance his own career. He never asked her for anything except her company and her laughter. When he was dying, he kept his promise to her, not because he owed her anything, but because she was the one person who had never asked him to be someone he was not. Their relationship was not a romance. It was something rarer and more precious. It was a friendship that survived secrets and scandals and decades of silence. It was two people who saw each other clearly and chose to love each other anyway. And when Rock Hudson took his final breath in that Los Angeles hospital bed, Doris Day was one of the people who understood him best. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click on the next video on your screen, like this video, and subscribe to our channel for more updates.